In this lecture, we're talking about input actions, and we're setting up our input system so that when we hold down spacebar, we print something witty to the console. Let's get started. Let's start off with a little bit of housekeeping. When we click play, you'll see that Unity loads things and holds on and imports and all that kind of stuff. We don't want that. It takes a little bit of time, so we're going to go up to Edit and then find Project Settings. Click on Editor, scroll all the way down to the bottom where it says Enter Play Mode Settings. And instead of reload domain and scene, we're going to say do not reload domain and scene. And then X out of that. Job done. When we click on play now, it should go straight into the game. Excellent. Next thing I'll do is I've currently got my rocket asset just sitting there all on its own as a prefab that I've created. It's a prefab with a whole bunch of elements underneath it. What I want to do is have this be a child of an empty game object. So let's do that, and then I'll explain what I'm talking about here. So right click in the hierarchy, create empty, and I'm going to rename this to be player rocket. I think makes sense there. Player rocket, it's your player. And I'll right click and reset the transform so it's right in the very, very middle of the world. Now what I want to do is click on my space object, the 3D asset. I'll right click and reset that as well. So it's right back in the middle of the world as well. Now I'm going to grab that and drag it on top of the player rocket. Now the player rocket is the parent and my 3D asset is the child underneath. And so why have we got it like this? Well, what I want to do is put all of my scripts and rigid body and logic onto the parent level, because then it's going to control everything that's going to go on. It's going to control the left and the right. Let me just put this back on the platform actually while we're here. It's going to control how it moves, and the child underneath is just how it looks. It's just the visuals of it. So if at any point I want to change the visuals, I can just delete this and put something new in there, and I won't lose all of the things, all of the structure, all the setup that I've got on my game object. So it's just good practice. You have a parent game object, then you have your game asset, your visuals as a child underneath that. So let's click on our player rocket. I'm going to drag movement script over onto there. So it's sitting on the player rocket. And we've got our rocket all set up the way I want it. Now let's talk about input. What we'll implement in this project is what I think is the simplest of the new input system approaches. We'll use an approach where we define input action bindings in the inspector, and I'll show you on the next slide the step-by-step process for doing that. If you don't know about input actions, they allow us to use multiple input systems such as keyboard or controller or mouse to do specific things in our game. For example, we might have the spacebar, or we might have the controller trigger to control thrusting. So it's two different types of input going into this interface, which is our input system, and then the input system is being used by our code. We don't have to have a line of code for spacebar and a line of code for trigger and a line of code for mouse, etc. And so what are the steps in this particular approach? Well, first of all, we need to use the input system namespace, which we did in the last lecture. We need to create input action variables and make sure they're serialized so we can see them in the inspector. We need to add bindings for each of our input actions. We need to enable the input action, and we need to use the value of the input action. So if the input action is for thrust and we say it's going to be connected to the spacebar, then somewhere in our code we say, okay, if the spacebar is pressed, then we want to do something with that. We want to thrust forward, and then we disable each input action if or when we need to turn off the input. For example, if you want the player not to be able to control their character when they die, you might have 2 seconds of fireworks or game over screen. You don't want the player to continue running around in the world behind that game over screen. So we need to enable but also disable our input action. So let's go do the first couple of steps of this now. We'll open up our movement script, and you can see we're using the input system namespace. That's important. I'm just going to delete all of my start and update for now, just to keep this nice and clean so you can see what's going on. I'll space in. First step is we're going to serialize a variable, serialize field, and then it's going to be of type input action. That's the type for this. And input action, we'll call thrust for the first one. So our variable name is thrust. It's of type input action. Now that we've got that, we need to enable this. And the way we're going to do that is use onEnable. And I know you've looked at the Unity order of execution before, where we've looked at awake and start and update, etc. Also within here, you can see, if we scroll around a little bit, you can see onEnable. It's right after awake. OnEnable is a thing that happens, and it's different to start because onEnable is when we enable the game object. We turn it on or we turn it off, whereas start is that initialization. It's the very first time that it comes alive, but it might be you have your game object come alive at the start of the game, game, and then you want to pause it or turn it off when the player dies, and then turn it back on again and turn it off and turn it back on. So the protocol for turning our input actions on and off is to use on enable as the callback for turning them on, and on disable, let's see if we can find where that is. It's probably all the way down the very end. On disable, it's right before on destroy. That's the very, very last thing that we might do. And we can use on disable if we wish to turn the controls off. So we write that on enable and then auto complete. As we would do with start or update, this is a callback. Unity understands it's calling it through its order of execution that we had a look at just now. And I'll just line up my curly braces the way I like them. And on enable, what we do is type thrust, because we're accessing that input action variable, thrust dot enable. Not enabled, you can see there's enabled and enable. And that's a method, so we need our parentheses, semicolon. Basically, we're saying, hey, when the callback of onEnable happens, which happens when this particular movement script, which is on our game object, is turned on or comes alive or happens, is enabled, then we say also enable this input action. Allow the player to do what this is, this input action. And how do we know what our thrust input action is? Well, let's go define that right now. So I've saved up my script, back over into Unity. We click on our player rocket where we've got our movement script. And you can see in here, there is a variable thrust, and it knows it's an input action. It's got some things that we can do because of that. See the little plus sign there where it says add binding? Click on the binding. The binding is basically saying what is the key press or the button thing or the direction of the controller that you want me to bind to this particular variable. So we'll click on plus. We're going to add binding. It's the simple of all the things. It's just a button press, a binding. And we'll double click on add binding. A couple of ways you can go about finding this. You can click on path, and then you can click on keyboard, and then by location of key, and then find space or whatever it is that you'd like to do. Or you can click on that same thing, click on listen, and then hit the space bar, and it says, I think you pushed the space bar. Yes, I did push the space bar. And then we've got our path, which is space. What I can also do while I'm here to show that we can add a whole bunch of different bindings to this one variable, I click on plus, add binding, double click on the binding. On the path, I'm going to just use this little back key because I'm currently within the keyboard layout. So click the little back key thing there, and again, and find gamepad. Gamepad, we can look for the, what should I make this? The right trigger. There we go. And we can just click back on our inspector, and you can see now we've got two different bindings, space or right trigger on the gamepad. We've set up the binding. They're both bound to thrust. Now at this stage, I've got a challenge for you, which is to check that this is all working. Create an if statement to print something when we are pressing the space key. So specifically, some clues for you here. In update, check if thrust is pressed is true. So thrust is our variable. That's our input action that we've set up. And we're accessing this method is pressed. And when is pressed, then we want it to be true. And we want to print something witty to the console. It's up to you what you print at this stage. Come up with something witty. And please, if you come up with something that you think is particularly witty, then share it in the discussions or the Q&A. Even if it's not particularly witty, please share it anyway. So there's your challenge. If you look at that and you say, I've got no idea what to do, no worries. I'll take you through my approach when you come back. So pause the video. I'll see you shortly. So I'm going to head into my movement script. And we've got on enable. Underneath on enable, I'll create myself update. So I shouldn't have deleted update after all, should I? But it was tidy for a moment. I'll just realign my curly braces the way I like it. Tab on in. Within here, I'm going to start my if statement, and we know it's keyword of if, and then our parentheses. And what do we want to be checking? We want to be checking thrust dot is pressed, parentheses, because it's a method. And then we want our curly braces to say, what do we do if that is true? What we will do is debug.log, which is how we print, parentheses, quotation marks. We need to print a string, and we'll write in here, dang, I need some space, because it's the space bar. Okay, I thought of that just then. It's not overly witty, but I did my best in the short time that I had. I'm going to click on save. I'm going to save back over into Unity. Click on the console once we're finished compiling. Click on play. Now what should happen when I push space? It says, dang, I need some space, and you can see the number goes up every time I hold it down now, and then let go, and then now let go. So we've successfully connected our space keyboard through the input action bindings so that we print this out to our console. That's all I've got for this lecture. I'll see you in the next one.